Yo guys, what's going on? Shaw here, and today in this video we're gonna just quickly walk through our vaults once again, back with like episode 7 now. I was able to get a good chunk of vaults done on 5 of my characters. I actually did these on stream, so if you like to watch just a really scrawny dude rage at random people on the internet in keys, go check it out, link in the description. But we're gonna check these today, walk through our decisions, and maybe talk a little bit about routing, because it is bolstering week, accompanied by quaking. So not too crazy of a week, but I will point out some general bolstering tips for tanks. But let's dive in. All right, so we got the Paladin first. The Paladin is in a unique position. I haven't been getting upgrades like at all. I think I took coins the last 3 or 4 weeks. I'm still sitting on the socket. I haven't socketed anything yet. I'm just like sitting on it. So honestly, again, like looking for bracers, looking for ring. There's a few items where I would like maybe a little bit more versatility on, but outside of that, like a nice scale. So I guess we're honestly just gonna roll. We're gonna roll prot. We're gonna see what we get, and if we have to take coins, we're probably just gonna buy another socket item and just, or gold maybe. I'm not sure. And we get a Codex of First Technique at 278. That's actually kind of massive. And then we got a 278 helm, which we already have plus socketed, so the Codex would be the play here. That's actually fucking huge. That's so dope. Really quick, let's check out our good friends over at Subcreation. So once again, this is a site I use all the time. mplus.subcreation. You can just go to subcreation.net as well. But what's really cool is you can look at the tanks. You can click on Prop Paladin, for example. Over here, we'll click on Trinkets right in the middle. And you can see that Codex is being ran in 27s and in 30s as a defensive trinket. Obviously, Scale, First Technique, Shard, and like First Sigil have been ran as well. But you can see that Sigil is being ran by about 25% of Prop Paladins right now, which just really, really good. So the First Technique it is, and we're actually super happy about that. Sick. So what we can do is we can actually take this Codex and we're going to actually replace our Scale with it. Not that I'm going to be getting rid of Scale, but oftentimes I like to trade out Scale and Shard depending on the type of damage I'm going to be taking. There are some keys where it's better to, you're going to be taking maybe large hits or pretty much large hits. And then there's going to be other times or other instances where you're going to be taking a lot of like soft auto attack damage. And that's where the trade-off really happens, whether I choose to run Scale or Shard. That is actually a really easy key on the Paladin, which I'm pretty excited about. One thing I do want to do is I am a little poor, so I'm actually going to buy some overflowing chest of riches, actually just one, and we're going to get about 3,000 gold from that. So I'm going to be sending this over to one of my alts later today. I just noticed that I'm a little short on gold on both my monk and my druid. Next, we have the DH. Last week, I was able to get just 4 keys done. I think I did actually ended up doing 5, but it doesn't matter. I have 2 chest slots. This character, once again, like getting a Codex of First Technique would be great. Better bracers, better cloak. There's a few items I'd like to replace, but sitting at 278 item level, I'm not like, there's something I need very specifically, or like, it's not like we're probably going to see like major upgrades out of here. And I just opened this for Havoc. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. Ugh. Jesus Christ. Fuck. All right. Well, good news is we can actually grab the 278 chest for tier. Fuck, man. I'm so pissed. Not that it would have mattered, but like one of these could have been, I don't know, Codex. All right, so what we're gonna do is we'll actually take this. I don't know, why was I rolling Havoc? Always check your loot spec. One nice thing about holding onto coins is that I have 4, but I only have 1,500 or 500 flux in my bags right now. And yes, I could go fly around, I could get chests, I could farm Torghast, I could do keys, but that's a ton of shit I don't want to do. So I'm gonna honestly just buy 2 of these pouches, and now we are able to just go make more tier. Now I hear it all the time where they're like, oh, you should just go farm chests in Zereth Mortis. Not something I really like to do, if I'm being honest. I play this game for a very specific reason. I play it to do Mythic Plus. So if it's not Mythic Plus, more than likely I don't enjoy doing it. Therefore, yeah. I don't enjoy doing it, so we're gonna just go and spend the coins. 278 chest, 1500. It's going to go to haste verse, and we are going to transform this. I can only upgrade 14 more times. So sad. Transform, look at that. All right, the DH is still the same item level, but a couple extra stats on the chest. I'm not going to complain about it. We'll get that enchanted later. Moving on. Dude, look at this. Look at this. This week in Mythic Plus, Bolstering, Quaking, Fortified. Oh, Dratnos. Thank you for your love. Big fan of Daddy D. Came out wrong. All right, Monk it is. We are going for the Brewmaster specialization, more than likely. We are still after a better scale. It would be super cool to get maybe gloves. Outside of that, though, like gloves, helm, maybe. I don't have a lot of coins either, so like I'd be okay. Actually, no, I wouldn't be okay. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll figure it out. All right, Brewmaster. I was able to get 8 keys done, so... Ooh. Oh my god. What is this helm, dude? What the actual living fuck? I mean, it would be stupid, right? I mean, bracers are like, okay, a little heavy haste, not enough mastery, but I mean, Leech cheer helm at 278. I'm taking it. Jesus Christ, I'm actually cracked on this character. This character's been getting so lucky, so I'm now 275. I'm still 275, man. It's because of this 239 trinket I'm being forced to run. What's nuts about this character, though, is the fact that I have so many different items with, like, tertiary stats. I'm sitting at 8 avoidance right now and 8 leech. And I think I'm running leech on the cloak, so I could drop a little bit of leech for more avoidance, or I could keep the leech. And now that it's not necrotic week, I don't know. That's actually nuts. I don't know what to say. That's amazing. Wow. This is the point in the tier where you really want to just see tertiary stats on item. I have it on my ring. I feel, what else do I have it on? I have speed on my, I got speed on my chest. I got avoidance on my shoulders and my neck, and now I have leech again on my helm. So we're just looking real healthy. Whew. Okay, so yesterday I was streaming and I was able to get 6 keys done on the warrior. I had 2 more slots, so last night I banged out 2 more like super late, like midnight, Monday night midnight keys. It's kind of a mouthful. The warrior is a healthy 265 item level. It would be really nice to replace this cloak, but there are a few other items that would be nice to replace or get like a higher item level of. For example, our chest, or not our chest, well, chest 272. Necklace or the helmet replace would be sick. I have a good bit of stuff, but I don't like how high my my crit is currently. So it'd be nice to drop some of this crit gear. We're gonna just double check that we're in prot, and we are going to rip this vault open. All right, so chest, not ideal. Ring, also not ideal. I mean, they're okay stats, but we really want verse. And the weapon is crit mastery. So, unfortunately, I think my best choice would be taking the chest, because I have a weapon, but it's high crit but low haste, which is fine. Not great, but I don't think I would just trade out for worse stats. Mastery is a good stat, but I really want to try to value the haste a little bit more. So maybe if it was high haste, low mastery, but like Death God Signet from the other side, but it's not. So I think chest is the play here. It'd be dumb to like pass up for another 6 coins, right? It sucks that I dumped a lot of valor into that chest piece though. But that is a-okay. I'm also actually going to buy, at this point, I'm going to buy a socket, and we're going to actually socket our ring. Because I was waiting for Vault this week just to see if I was going to get a socketed ring or not, or like just a 278 ring, but we didn't. And now that I'm able to lock that socket in, I'm kind of chilling. And we're going to go upgrade our chest really quick. All right, bada bing, bada boom. We got that mythic chest, and we're feeling okay. We went up an item level, which is cool. We also were able to add a socket to our ring, which is nice. So I really don't have much complaints, honestly. Last but not least, we have our Druid. Now, Druid, I was able to get 8 keys done, plus I was able to kill 2 mythic bosses. What are we after? I mean, I feel like I say this every week, but I just like feel like I'm set. So I'm gonna roll Feral because I want to try to get, I doubt it'll happen, a cache of acquired treasures would be so fucking fun. So we're gonna rip Feral, dude. We're gonna rip Feral in the vault, see what we get. Ah. Exactly what I'd expect. Shit. Alright. Didn't I do something last week where I looted a ring that I wanted to socket? Oh yes, I looted a ring with leech. Remember that good old time that we had? Crit first lit ring with leech, which is the same one that we're running. This signet is like kind of tempting to take, and it would probably replace my Stitch Flesh's ring, which I would probably put me down to 24% haste, which would probably be okay. But I actually think that I'm going to pass up on the signet of Collapsing Stars since I already have the other ring socketed, so I wouldn't even use this week. I really want to get that other leech ring on, so I think I'm going with coins this week, the tokens of merit. And we're going to turn this ring into a socket, throw it on our character. Our item level is not going to go up at all, but we are going to gain, we're actually going to put leech on our character, which we currently don't have. And the reason I don't have any leech is because my cloak is enchanted with avoidance. A lot of tanks like to go leech. I went avoidance for a very specific key. And also then this last week was necrotic, so I just felt like leech was going to lose some value, and I felt like avoidance would be just better to take overall. So we're going to go snag a quick verse gem from our GB and call it a day. We'll enchant it as well, I guess, right? Oh no, wait, what? Huh? There we go. No, don't want to replace. And then we'll throw this guy in and save this juicy, delicious guardian set. Look at that. So that ring gave me 2% leech. And then actually while I'm here and I remember, let us get a leech enchant going on our cloak as well to replace that avoidance. Our avoidance is going to go down to 4%, but our leech is going to go up to 4%. So we are looking really good here. Super good. Awesome. Good vaults this week, honestly. I am pretty happy. Nice. Ooh, that's a cool looking mount. Dratnos has already released a video talking about bolstering quaking, so I just recommend checking that out. I know I'm promoting someone else's content on my channel. Weird. Dratnos does a very good job at it, but I do want to talk about some things that I find very important in the routing this week when it comes to bolstering. I'm actually going to just go down and talk about every single instance. Bolstering gets really scary in the other side in a few specific places, and I've mentioned this before, but a lot of groups like to pull really big in Ardenweld, and of course, it's still doable on bolstering weeks. There's just a few things you want to prioritize. So typically, like standard, you'll see this pull being pulled off. This Elder Runehorn is the only thing that's going to do anything that's not physical damage, and it's going to be the Anima Starstorm, which, when it's bolstered, those swirls that you see on the ground will pretty much one-shot your group, and they're kind of hard to see because it's a blue animation on a blue surface. Make sure you're focusing this thing, or your group is focusing this thing. The bolstering doesn't last permanently, but more than likely the shimmer moths and the bark, like the little spriggans, are gonna probably bolster this guy before you kill the Runehorn. And that's gonna stay true for everything through here. If you're pulling the Staghorn, be careful, and then the Matriarch as well. If you're pulling anything like this, just be careful of the Matriarch getting mega bolstered, because once it enrages and does Beak Slice at high stacks, your tank might just fall over. The other scary pulls in here are going to be these platforms. This one, actually all three of them in particular. The Undead Speakers typically have about double the health pool of everything else, but it's a fortified week, so you also kind of want these cultists to die. So you want to make sure you're trying to prioritize the Death Speaker and cleaving off onto other mobs. If you can, or if you're scared, I should say, and let's just say this guy gets mega bolstered and like there's still a cultist up, you can line of sight down the stairs on either side if you have the available pathing to help reduce the amount of cast being thrown. And then if you are LOS, these mobs won't cast at all. They'll actually try to run to the tank to get in line of sight, which can buy you a couple seconds to kind of try to chip away at that bolstering, which can be pretty beneficial. Same thing on this side. And then this side, the warlords will actually bolster probably well after. So what I recommend doing is splitting this into 2 pulls if you can, or if you do pull them onto each other, make sure you're focusing the warlords. But again, these guys are really scary. So this is a pull I would split up probably this week. Outside of that, most of the pulls you'll see in Mechagon are actually pretty small. So Halls of Atonement, I mention this every week that I talk about bolstering, but it's really comes down to like, you can still pull groundskeepers in, that's fine. Just don't pull them in right away. So for example, my group likes to pull these mobs onto the shard, like all of these onto shard. What you want to do at this point is you want to cleave off of the shard, and then when the shard's at maybe like half health or 25% health, pull these guys in. Because in a 25, for example, you're going to see this mob has 2.8 million health. That's massive. These guys only have 700k health. So you want to pull them in well after the fact so that those thrashes don't get crazy empowered. Now, of course, if you want to play the safe route, don't pull these guys in. Don't even pull these guys in. You can do them by themselves, or what you can do is you can make this a new pull, and you can then maybe pull these guys together. That's fine. Just be very careful on these crazy mini boss mobs that have a ton of health. It goes for every one of the shards. But outside of that, this dungeon's actually, most things have similar amount of health and are worth a similar percent. So this dungeon's actually probably one of the easier ones to do this week. Plus, it's quaking, so that's a little bit more wide open. Misatina Scythe, honestly, very easy bolstering dungeon because you're kind of forced to pull small. Also, these larvas at the end of the dungeon don't actually bolster anything, so you can still do like your big Chongus pulls where you're like, I know a lot of groups like to double this up. Some groups like to double this up. All of these have the same amount of health, and these guys don't bolster, so this is like safe to do as long as you're not like hard focusing like 2 of them and then leaving the other 4 up. Early on in the dungeon, you have to be a little bit careful, like on these guys at the start. Like, don't try to do, like, if you're in a lower key, don't try to just like big dick this onto the tree, because this will not end well for your group. And I know some groups actually like to pull like this pull, or they do this to get the relics that are in here. I don't know why MDT isn't updated yet for that, but pretty easy dungeon actually. Plaguefall, another dungeon where you don't pull that big. The only thing you need to be careful of are going to be these first couple slimes. Don't pull all of them. We're going to actually change this to Bolstering Week. Don't go pulling all of these at the same time, unless you have really good cleave or really good setup. So I play with a Demo Lock, and what he does is he typically gets a really big implosion, and I can pull all of these and he'll just blow them up in like 2 seconds, which is super nice. Sometimes what I do is I actually pull a couple of these onto the Plague Belcher to reduce the amount of bolstering that you're going to see here. But again, that's really scary to do this week because the Plague Belcher will just become massive, have a huge health pool, do a lot of damage to the tank. If you are someone who does this strat, I would try to not. I would just split this room in half. So I would just pull this half, and then the other half should happen maybe with relics. So something like that, you can split it in half, and then you can kill Vi with that pull. And then these guys separately. Outside of that, most of these actually aren't affected too much by bolstering. Yeah, this Plaguefall almost doesn't even change because, again, your pulls are just pretty small throughout here. Sanguine Depths. Sanguine Depths is a little scary at certain points when you're pulling large. The very first pull sometimes can get a little scary, but of course you have a lot of cooldowns rolling at the start, so it's not that bad. My group typically does this, and we pull in the Brute with this pack. You want to make sure you're focusing the Brute if you can, but honestly, the Mist Dancer has more health than the Brute, so it's pretty safe to cleave here. The only problem is if your tank is bad at managing the Mist Dancer's frontal, or the Brute gets the 3 stacks of bolstered and then leaps, you'll be taking a good bit of group damage. But if you have good control over cleave here, should be pretty easy. Most of these little ticks don't bolster, so the famished ticks don't. The gluttonous ticks do, so you just want to be careful on that. And then of course, like, these acolytes don't bolster, these sprites don't bolster. So outside of the fact that it's quaking this week and it's a very tight corridor like hall dungeon, a lot of mobs and a lot of pulls in here are actually going to be fairly tame because you're not typically pulling really massive. I would say the only thing that's scary is like if you're pulling like a bigger pull here onto Urn or Lantern with the Sentinel. Like, the Sentinel does have a good bit of more health than everything else in here, probably about double. So that's probably the only one I'd be careful of. And then the last hallway, people always have questions about this. The only mobs that bolster in here are going to be the cadets, and they do not bolster Call herself. So like this first pull, there won't be any bolstering stacks. These cadets will bolster though, all 6 of them. Same thing here, you have 3 cadets in the next pull after that. You can pull these onto Lantern here. Kill these by themselves before you pull the Acolytes in, because if you bolster the Acolytes, it's going to get real scary real quick. And then, of course, these guys at the end do bolster, and then just the Huntsmasters. This is very realistically a dungeon where you can actually take this into boss if you have CDs up. And once the cadets die, you can definitely feel free to chain. But before that, I recommend not. Then we have Spires of Ascension. Again, a very linear dungeon where you don't have to worry too much about bolstering, except maybe in this first pull. So I recommend dropping the Goliath, but then you can pull the Goliath to the top of the stairs like this. In order to do this, you can line of sight Cascaders back, or you can pull into one of these corners and the Goliath should ignore you. Getting a Goliath bolstered isn't really a big issue, it's just annoying. That's really it. As long as you're kicking the Rebellious Fist, you should be good. The only other pull that gets scary is this. A lot of groups have been doing this lately, doubling this up and spearing. But if you kill these Ether Drivers really early, these dudes are gonna fucking slap if you don't kill them. So my group might actually not end up doing this week. That's asking for trouble. Yeah, nothing else in here is big enough to actually I would worry about. Yeah, you're fine in Spires. Necrotic Wake, you have the only thing that gets really scary in Necrotic Wake is going to be the upstairs part. So you're going to see a lot of standard pulls through here, like Blight Bags, for example, they don't bolster. So pretty much any of these pulls here, these things won't bolster. So feel free to pull them into this first pull still. That's fine. They won't bolster. They'll actually help you do damage. They'll do damage to your group, but they'll also do damage to the mobs. That's absolutely fine. Like these dudes, these corpses don't bolster. So actually it's like pretty tame. The only thing that gets really scary are going to be these giant Stitchwork mobs in here. You have the patrol, and then you have this corner, and then you have these Rotspew and of course Gore Grind. So on this week, you really want to focus on Rotspew, because as soon as he gets bolstered, especially in higher keys from these leftovers, this Rotspew cast or the Spew Disease is going to just fucking delete one of your DPS. Unless they have a way to immune it or something, or it goes on your tank. But this guy, it's more of the tank, so again, you want to focus this down, because the Tenderize Mutilate combination from this guy when bolstered is going to just one-shot your tank at higher difficulties. And that's pretty much it. I would just do the Necropolis one pull at a time if you can. Spare parts don't bolster, so you can maybe do the patrol with here, plus spare parts with Orb pretty early, but you just need to be careful of the Stitchwork. We also have Theater of Pain. Theater of Pain is it kind of falls into like the Sanguine Spires, where you can still pull the Bloodhorn into first boss. That is absolutely fine. It's not going to bolster the boss. It's not going to get bolstered itself because there's no other trash with it. Most of these pulls are pretty good, meaning like they're not going to bolster. I recommend skipping Patrol and hierarchies if you can. You're obviously like pulling these. Don't chain. Either pull one of the mini bosses right away or just leave it by itself. It's not as efficient, but you can just do these each one at a time. You can I recommend skipping Patrol if you can. You can Invis past it. You can Shroud past it. You can technically grab Woe here and run by, but then you're going to have to figure out a way to pull this back. But this room doesn't bolster. You can still do this fucking chunky ass pull. You just need to make sure you're kicking these make sure you're kicking these Blighted Sludge Spewers. These are ugly looking dudes. Holy shit. Look at that. Ooh. Goat hoof. But yeah, same kind of category here. It's just like nothing bolsters too crazy in here. These do bolster though. Be careful. Split these up real nice, like split them right in half, and then don't chain this with the Portal Guardian. That'll kill you. Outside of that, no, very simple, very small pull dungeon. Streets of Wonder, almost nothing bolsters in here either. When I say nothing bolsters, everything bolsters, but again, the pulls are so small it shouldn't actually matter. If you're not pulling more than like 6 mobs, or you're not pulling like a mini boss mob, more than likely bolstering is not going to affect you that much as long as you're cleaving, right? First pulls like that, you'll get maybe 4-pack here. This might be the scariest pull in here, but you can always commit Lust and just target the Overseer, which has a little bit more health than everything else, about 30% more. Like, this is a pull I've seen before, fine, it's only 5 targets. A lot of groups are going left nowadays, so it's like, bolstering doesn't matter, you can pull this onto this. Bolstering does matter on the Enraged Direhorn, but again, you can stand up either at the top of the stairs or at the bottom of the stairs and it won't charge you. Yeah, I mean, unless you're pulling like my group sometimes does, where we pull like this shit, it's not going to be that scary. So Streets is a fine key. The only other key that I'd be scared about is Gambit. But even Gambit isn't actually that bad because most of the Murlocs don't bolster. Like all the Shorerunners don't bolster. So every time you pull a group, it's going to be 3 stacks of bolstering. So just keep that in mind. So if you pull this, first pull, it's fine. That's going to be 6 stacks of bolstering at the end of the pull. And most of them are going to be dead anyways. So I try to limit to maybe 2 pulls at a time. This is what my group sometimes sees. Actually, we do this. Just keep that in mind with Murlocs, but again, it shouldn't be that bad because most of them will be very, very low health when they do start bolstering, and some of them might actually run off far enough where you won't even see them. You get woe here, and then you skip. You're skipping this stuff. If you go upstairs, this pull's a little rough, and as long as you're not, like, chaining... Yeah, Gambit's an easy key. Alright, that's pretty much it. I don't have many tips for bolstering. It's actually a pretty easy week. Just watch out for Quaking. Get a Quaking week or if you don't have it. Most pulls in here, again, bolstering won't affect you that much. You no longer bolster bosses, so feel free to pull onto bosses if that's a strategy that your group has been implementing. Just some of these pulls, like in DOS, this pull right here, very, very spooky. Same with this, same with this. But most dungeons, it won't actually affect you that much. So have fun this week. Be thankful it's not necrotic anymore, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Take care.